venues now. Let's talk about venues quickly. Venues are pretty straightforward, so it won't take too long to get through these. Okay, here we go. So adding venues. Now, I think we're going to be doing quite a bit of a demonstration on the demo area for this, but let's just go through here. So I'm going to show you how to create a new venue. I've already shown you actually how to create a venue while adding a course data with that little plus button. And I'm going to talk to you about adding locations, which has started to get into doing things like modifying what we call the options, which is under the publish menu. That's also where we add our course categories as well, which I'll get into more details with in the next session next week when I talk about adding course masters. And of course, we're going to talk about AVETMISS data, specifically for location information, which is related to venues. So let me get out of that and show you on this demonstration area. So again, I'm going to show you quickly how to add a venue. Very easy to do, very straightforward. Click on the Publish tab up here, then see the venues icon here, click on New, right beside the venue. And bingo, we've got the ability to add a new venue. So we can give this venue a name, can add a room in there, add the floor, street address, all pretty standard stuff, nothing too complicated here. When it comes to locations, you click on the lightning bolt again to get the list of locations available. Now you can even go in and edit this location. So if you create a location and you need to edit it, obviously Australia's not a bit too broad, but you click on the pencil there, you can actually edit. And this is where we get to see our AVETMISS data as well. So you can see the AVETMISS data in there. This has all been added in for this particular course. And this has additional fields. So these are customized fields specifically for higher education. This is pretty much the basic information you'd expect to have on the AVETMISS form. And don't be frightened by the fact that it says AVETMISS 7. This just means that AVETMISS 7 is the last update to the location information. There hasn't been any update since AVETMISS 7 to location information. Now, if you need to create a new location, so that's adding a venue, and down here, you can also add a venue description. That can be useful if you want to include a description of the venue, such as guidance on how to get there. The venue descriptions can be added to the venue and they appear just in this list here. You click on the lightning bolt and you get a list of venue descriptions. Those venue descriptions allow you to include information in the emails or any PDFs that you create. So you're able to access those fields pretty easily. So I want to show you how to create a new location. So that's if you want to edit an existing location. You may need to create a new location. And for that purpose, we click on the Publish tab at the top there. Click on Options. And this will give us a list of the options. So you probably won't see as many options in here as what we've got in this demonstration area. I'm going to search for location. In fact, what I'll do is I won't search for parent name. I'll search in the name filter. There we go. Here's the location. And I'm going to click on this button here, which is tree view of this option. So you can see here, I've got a list of different options. I can open up the list. Now, if I want to add an additional option, let's say, for example, I want to add Brisbane to Queensland, click on the cog, and I do something called add a child. Okay, so it's a child to that particular field there. So if I go and click on Queensland, click on the cog, click add a child, I add Brisbane. That's the name that is going to appear on the website if I'm using the WordPress plugin. And look at this, I've got all of the AVETMISS data in here as well. So I can add this information in. None of it's mandatory at the moment, so I can just click on add, just so if I have to quickly set up that course. And now if I open up Australia, you can see now Queensland has an additional one. Now I can add another one under Queensland by clicking on the cog, which is Brisbane. And I can add after this node or add before this node, and that's the ordering process. So if I want to add after this node, I want to add Cairns in, click on add. And you can see there now I'm going to have both Cairns and Brisbane. What if I got them around the wrong way? If I want to order them differently, I grab onto the cog, and you see how I can move it up? I can move this around. Now, that there is going to make a child into Brisbane. If I let it go, you'll see now that Brisbane now has Cairns as a child. I can pick up the cog again, and you'll see there's a long line there. I'm not sure if you can spot that. It's a bit long, it's a bit tricky. And that reorders it. So I can put Brisbane back up there. So this is a way of ordering those options. Now that's just for your display. It's also for the display on the WordPress plugin. So that's manipulating locations. And now it's very common to manipulate all of those things. Things like course categories as well is where you can do that. Course categories are also found under options. So I think that pretty much covers venues. Any questions on venues? I think you'll find that having done a few other things, you'll probably find that fairly straightforward. Yeah, just adding venues is pretty easy to do. But if you're adding it for the first time, you do need to set up some locations. Definitely when you set up locations, I encourage you to not set up too many locations. Try and keep the locations as high level as possible. So you may, for example, set up on a per state basis or on a per city basis. Setting up lots of detailed locations is definitely a way of getting pretty confused. So well worth it to think carefully about that. Okay, so now we're going to get into creating field. Oh, I've got a question here. You like to add latitude and longitude in maps. Excellent. Yes, there's a default venue description to copy and then link. You can, so latitude and longitude maps, you can do that anyway. So that's not related to venue descriptions, but definitely copying the latitude and longitude. I think they are by default used to create the map link. So if you choose we're not going to cover email variables in this particular session, but I can write that down as something to cover. But if you add the longitude and latitude on there, then you will effectively have a link that you can include in your emails, which will zoom in on that particular set of data. Now, with regards to a default venue description, let me just quickly show you venue description. That's under the Publish tab here, and then under Content. Now, I don't think we've got any in here. Let's have a look and see if we've got any venue descriptions. No, there's none in there, so we can click on New. It's pretty standard. There's nothing particular that you need. It's really up to you. I'll call this default. And it's just like, it's just a blank canvas, right? So you might want to say, public transport. When using a GPS coming on foot, and then you can just basically GPS. You can basically just provide some information here, and this will be the short content for the venue description, and you can include this. This will be automatically put into your emails if you choose to include that particular section of the venue description, and you can write anything you want in here. So you might want to, you're talking about wanting to provide a link to a map. You might want to consider actually finding the map first online and then linking it manually, because sometimes the links when they use the GPS coordinates are very specific, and you end up seeing something that doesn't look like a building, right? And so you may want to first of all define what you want to see, how you want to see that particular locality. It might be including local suburbs, for example, whereas the GPS or the coordinates might go a little bit too detailed to be useful for your participants. You can, once you've created one of these, once you've got effectively a format, if I add this, you can automatically create duplicates of this by using this add based on this content button. You see this button here? So this is the default venue description. If I click on this, each time, it's going to recreate with all the same content in it. So that's a way of creating a default template for a venue description. Then you can change the name and everything. So you could even go back, if I go back here and edit this, I could say, this is the default venue description template. And so whenever you go in to create a venue, just use that button there. Don't edit this one, just use that one there. And each time you're going to already have your default headings in there you can use and add to. Okay, so let's get back to fields.